Chapter 8. Moreover the Lord said unto me, Take thee a great roll, and write in it with a man's pen concerning Maher-shalal-hash-baz. And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record, Uriah the priest, and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord to me, Call his name Maher-shalal-hash-baz. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, My father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. The Lord spake also unto me again, saying, Forasmuch as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloh that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son, now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, and all his glory. And he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks. And he shall pass through Judah, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of the land, O Emmanuel. Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces. And give ear, all ye far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for God is with us. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not, a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense of both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall, and be broken, and be snared, and be taken. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. And I will wait upon the Lord that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. And when they shall say unto you, Seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep, and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And they shall pass through it hardly bested, and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves, and curse their king and their God, and look upward. And they shall look unto the earth, and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Here in chapter 8, we get to run across the longest name in the Bible. It is the youngest son of Isaiah, and I don't think I'm pronouncing this right, but it looks like Maher-shalal-hash-baz. Hash-baz, sorry. The longest name in the Bible. It is a message of warning to Judah. Both of his sons' names are messages of warning. Isaiah, for instance, means Jehovah saves. We've already talked about his first son, and now the second son. His particular name means, properly translated, to speed the spoil, he hastens the prey, which basically means to see to it that things happen. He's speeding the prey on its way to meet with the spoiler. And the reason that it talks about him at the very beginning having a child with a lady that is referred to as the prophetess. She is his wife. And it doesn't mean that she is somebody that gives prophecy. It just means, in this particular case, that she is the wife of the prophet Isaiah. So Mrs. Prophet, I guess, would be the better term, and they didn't have Mrs. in those days. Chapter 14, or verse 14, it uses the phrase stone of stumbling and rock of offense. And this is a messianic statement. And you find Jesus referred to as a stone. Genesis chapter, I think it's 48 or 49, verse 24. And again in Psalms 118, verse 2, if I remember correctly. And as a rock in Deuteronomy chapter 36, verse 9, and in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 2. And the expression here is meant as a prophecy. I love Isaiah. It gets, if once you learn stuff from Isaiah, there are layers and layers and layers and layers within layers. But basically he is telling the people here that even at this point, 2,700 years ago, 700 years before Christ was born, it was known that the Jews, the people who were the people of Ephraim, the people of Judah, they were going to reject their Savior because of who was there. Now, one of the reasons for the names Isaiah and his sons' names, we just think of them as names, sort of like my first name is Keith, but their name translated into the Hebrew, or actually they were Hebrew names, but they had meanings. And the meanings would be like if you had a son that was born now, and his name, instead of being John, was "the economy is in the tank." Every time somebody would see him and say, "Well, who's that?" And you would say, "His name is the economy is in the tank." That was the sort of thing that these guys had as names. And so every time one of these boys, or Isaiah, was seen and somebody named their name, they were getting a prophetic message. That was what that was for. Now, that's verse 18. Verse 19, there is another warning against what is called the familiar spirits. And the translators of the King James Version translated that, but the Hebrew really has a different meaning, a totally different meaning. It means leather bottles or bags. And you don't get the connection if you don't understand what they used to do. There used to be people who could seemingly master ventriloquism. It was a known skill, even way back then. And what they would do is they would get you to put some money in the bag. Sometimes they would do the money. Sometimes you'd put it in their hand. And a voice would come out of the bag. The ventriloquist voice, of course. And it would pretend to tell the future or something about you or whatever. And what he was trying, what he was prophesying against, was the moral corruption of the people who basically would rather look to a leather bag and a ventriloquist as a source of information than God. And he had the same thing. There were peepers. There were people who would claim to be able to peep into the bags and see things. There were people who were twitters. They would make sounds like chirping birds. There were people who would pretend to have fits and go into trances, and then they'd mutter stuff, and then they'd say, "Whoa, this is what it translates out as." And he was warning against all of those things. And we have all of those things today, and yet we think we're righteous. We are at least as unrighteous as a society as these people were. And how do we expect that we're not going to have some of the things happen to us? Maybe the land might yield its strength, but maybe the economy won't. All we need on top of this now is a really terrible drought all across North America this year, and we'd find out just how righteous we were.